Black Queens of the Past by Jamal Patterson. The first one up is Jessie Redmond Fawcett. Jessie Redmond Fawcett was a teacher, a writer, and an influential thought leader through the Harlem Renaissance. Fawcett was born in New Jersey into an extremely large and unique family. Her mother died when she was a child, and her father remarried to a white woman, a very uncommon thing for Jim Crow America. Fawcett excelled at school and was top of her class in high school, winning honors. She eventually went to the Ivy League University Cornell, another triumph for a black woman in Jim Crow era America. Fawcett went to accomplish some pretty amazing things. She became fluent in French and traveled to Paris numerous times, eventually studying at the Historical University of Paris. Fawcett also worked extensively with the NAACP, eventually becoming an editor for one of their most prestigious publications. Josephine Baker was an extremely successful and popular entertainer and black icon in the early 20th century. She was born in the United States in Little Rock, Arkansas. Her mother and father were both descendants of slaves, and her father was a successful vaudeville act, a popular form of entertainment at the time. There is much speculation that her claimed father was not her real father. Josephine's mother was believed to have become pregnant while working for a German family. Unlike most black women of the time, Josephine was born in an upscale hospital and her bill played by an unknown donor, leaving many to believe she was actually a biracial. She rose to fame as an extremely popular act in her hometown, and she moved to Harlem during the Harlem Renaissance. She became a chorus girl and rose quickly through the ranks, but due to stiff competition and Jim Crow, she could never become a headliner. Josephine eventually moved to Paris, a place that suffered from racism but didn't have the hardcore white supremacy like the United States, leading many black men and women to move to Paris and become world famous, including Josephine. She became famous for her sensual banana skirt act burlesque routine, a routine that many burlesque performers reenact today. During World War II, Josephine became a spy, using her celebrity to charm people on scout locations. She was very successful and received much praise. Later in her life, she supported the Civil Rights Movement despite being a French citizen. She refused to play the segregated crowds and met with various leaders. She thought she was going through a lot. Even though she was going through a lot, she still decided to speak up for her people. For a while, the U.S. banned her in the country, but she was eventually allowed back. Marian Anderson. Marian Anderson was born in Philadelphia. Her grandfather was a slave who had been freed. Her mother, unlike many black people during the Jim Crow era, was college educated and was able to get a degree in teaching, but the white supremacists of the era didn't allow her to practice, so she had to turn to domestic work, a common tactic of white supremacists to keep African people impoverished. Like Josephine Baker before her, she became famous in Europe first, as they allowed black people to be free, as they had centuries of trade with Africa. She began performing in London first. She then toured all of Europe and as a megastar, especially in Scandinavia. She even made friends with Albert Einstein because they were both part of oppressed groups. She spoke out against racism on numerous occasions. She performed at Kennedy's inauguration. Marian Anderson passed away at the age of 96. Hazel Johnson Brown. General Johnson was born in Pennsylvania to a farming family. She tried to get into a white college but was rejected. She eventually went to Harlem Nursing School to get her degree. She gained her reputation by becoming head nurse at a VA hospital, becoming head nurse incredibly fast. She eventually decided to join the Army Nursing Corps. She served in Japan and didn't like it, so she returned to the U.S., earning a master's in nursing, eventually writing the first standards of practice for Army Corps nurses. She is most notable for becoming the 16th Chief Army Nurse in the Corps and the first black female brigadier general of the United States. Hadia Nicole Green. Dr. Green is one of the few African American women with a PhD in physics. She was unfortunately orphaned at a young age and raised by her aunt and uncle. She went to Xavier and Alabama A&M. She eventually got her physics degree from the University of Alabama. Her genius came when a family member died of cancer. Then another one got cancer but survived. She noticed the harshness of chemo in the body. Dr. Green eventually used her knowledge from studying at NASA to develop a method for using laser nanoparticles to specifically target cancer cells and not healthy cells. Her experiments were successful in laboratory conditions.